Welcome, everybody. I am Phil Rossi, host of Don't Turn Around, and welcome to episode 2 of It Came from the Web, my new podcast series where I explore the spookiest stories the internet has to offer. This show is very much related to Don't Turn Around in the sense that strange things happen all around us every day, as is evidenced by how much content there is on the internet exploring the spookier side of our reality. This is not a debunking show. This is a show for folks who want to believe. And now, of course, I will lend a skeptical eye to everything that we look at here. But at the end of the day, I just want to take the opportunity to show some of the cool stuff that I find on the internet. Thank you so much for being a part of the Don't Turn Around community. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of something that I love to do, and that's explore the paranormal. If you have not yet left Don't Turn Around a review on Apple Podcasts, make sure to head on over there. You can just search up Don't Turn Around, leave a 5-star review, and tell me what you think of the show. Of course, Don't Turn Around returns next week with an all-new episode. But this week, we are doing It Came from the Web. Oh, and special thanks to my Patreon subscribers. With your support, we help keep the lights on, keep the servers up and running, and keep the files hosted. So where do I want to begin? I want to begin in the woods. The woods, as many of you know, are one of my favorite places to explore the paranormal. There's a special power that surrounds nature. And I wanted to talk a little bit at the start of the show about a location called Daniels, Maryland. Daniels, Maryland is located in the Patapsco River Valley in Maryland, not far from Baltimore. And this is an area that is no stranger to odd occurrences. There have been reported UFO sightings, lights in the woods, even
a Bigfoot sighting, along with disembodied voices and, of course, ghosts. I first went to Daniels, Maryland as a Father's Day adventure. Pretty cool, right? Uh, Going back several years ago now, we went up there to explore this abandoned town. And Daniels was last inhabited in 1972. It was founded in the 1800s as a textile town that, believe it or not, made the canvas used in tents by the Union Army in the Civil War. It developed pretty steadily as a textile town until in the 60s, the company decided to close down the town for lack of a better description and told everyone that they had to get out. So, of course, huge emotional upheaval, telling people that they had to leave. People that had their whole lives in this town suddenly were told that their homes were going to be bulldozed. Many people left, but some others decided to stubbornly hold fast and stay in their home until Hurricane Agnes tore through the area in 1972 and flooded the whole town out. Not much remains of Daniels today. There's a few ruins of some churches where we've had some very spooky experiences, some of which I will share on future episodes of this series. There are old foundations of buildings as well. There are cars wrapped in vines and tree stumps in the middle of the woods. It's a very spooky place. And as I was digging around my hard drive looking for some other files, I came across a couple EVPs that I captured in Daniels, and I wanted to try to share those here tonight. Now, as this is a live show, and as I'm still getting used to doing this, there may be some technical challenges that I experience, so bear with me. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to share two EVPs that I found in my pile of many, many disorganized files. So let's see if I can manage to do this. And for you folks that are listening on the podcast feed, so glad to have your ears. As I get through the visual elements, I will do my very best to explain those. But this is audio, and I'm going to go ahead and, well, you know what? Before we do that, for those of you that are watching, let's take a look at some of the images that are on the internet of Daniels, Maryland, and you'll see why I am so enamored by this location. All right, we're going to share our screen. There we go. Okay, hopefully you are seeing what I'm seeing here. So these are just a couple of the images of Daniels, Maryland. We'll pull up this one here. I don't know if we can pull up the image itself. Let's see. Open image in new tab. Boom. Okay, it's tiny. See, that's what I'm talking about. So we're going to keep it in this view for the sake of streamlining things here. But as you can see, it is just a town that is in ruins. And if you Google Daniels, Maryland, and do an image search in Google, you'll pull up all these same images. So you can see the abandoned churches covered in graffiti. This particular church, which is the Church of which is the Church of Saint Stanislaus, is where we have had some of the most strange encounters, and I will certainly share some of that in upcoming episodes, and particularly a very chilling video of a shadow figure I caught on one fateful afternoon right around sunset. Now, let's go to those EVPs. So I've got two EVPs that I'm going to share with you. The first one I'm going to share, we captured by the rusting hulk of an abandoned car that was sitting in the woods right on a stream. And running water is said to be a catalyst for paranormal activity, whether it is the water moving generates energy for the paranormal to manifest itself, or it's some property of the water itself. But it's said that water does tend to encourage paranormal manifestations. And this was an EVP that we caught on the spot. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I could share that with you all. Okay. Here we go. All right. Hopefully, you're going to be able to hear this. And if you can't hear what I'm sharing in the chat, please give a shout. So let's go. You want to share? So what I hear there, well, let me play it one more time, and then I'll let you decide what you think you hear, and then I'll share it. You're going to hear a faint voice, which is not the EVP. In fact, that's my daughter a little bit up the ways on the trail talking back to us. But the EVP itself is actually louder than her voice. This is nothing that we had heard at the time, so I want to be very clear about that. So let's go ahead and we'll play that again. You want to share? So what I hear there at toward the end of the clip is a voice that sounds like it's saying "mom," and I'm going to go ahead and play that again. It's pretty clear. It's pretty clear. And again, I want to stress that that is not something that we heard at the time, but rather as I was going back through the audio files from recording on the location, that came through in a very, very startling way. And as I remember the first time that I listened to that, it gave me the chills. So let's listen to that one more time. You want to share? So what do you think? I would love to hear from you in the comments. If you think that I captured the voice of a spirit, a young child perhaps looking for their mother. Okay, one more from Daniels, Maryland, before we get into our clips. All right, let's close out of that. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and... So this next one was captured in one of the foundations of the empty buildings. What was interesting about this particular location, and that coincided pretty much at the exact time that this EVP was captured, my wife photographed what appeared to be two orbs floating around the empty foundation. I know what you're thinking, orbs, dust, maybe a bug. We're as skeptical about orbs as the next person, but the way the light was coming in makes it unlikely that we captured dust or that we captured any bugs. And I will do my best to find those orb pictures to share with all of you so you can be the judge. Also, at the same time, this EVP was captured. We experienced quite a spike in EMF. So several corroborating pieces of evidence go along to make what I think is another pretty strong catch. So let's give it a listen. Where are you right now? Let's play that again. Where are you right now? Now, I just want to note, I did not do any manipulation to this audio whatsoever, other than elevating the volume, as you can see here. So there were no other changes made to the audio. And the audio quality of that voice is just so peculiar. There's almost an echo to it. And there are no really reflective surfaces in this area. Like I mentioned, it's an empty foundation. So where is that reverb coming from? Let's give it a listen again. Where are you right now? It sounds like whatever we may have captured on this recording is trying to communicate back to me. I ask, where are you right now? And to me, it sounds like a voice replies saying, I'm here. So let's give that one more listen. Where are you right now? What do you think? Sounds like I'm here. Again, that's not a voice that we heard at the time. So it strikes me as pretty compelling. All right, let's move along. Okay, this first clip that I'm going to share was found on Reddit, posted by No Adagio 6743, titled Bigfoot Sighting in Ontario, Canada. So let's go ahead and give this a watch and see what there is to see. You know what? I think I can make this quicker too. I don't think I'll have to end the sharing if I do it this way. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So let's make this full screen. First time I watched it, I didn't see anything. It wasn't until the second time that I watched it through and paid a little more attention that I saw something. So we're going to play it once without me pointing anything out at all, and then we'll play it again. And I'll try not to react. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hit pause. Did you notice anything? Now I'm going to tell you where to look. So you're going to want to look in this area of the woods as the boat comes around. Let's back it up. It's beautiful there, though, isn't it? Okay, pay attention to that area, starting on the right side. Right there. What in the world? That's crazy. That is crazy. All right, now we're going to watch it again. Now that you know where you're looking. It's a beautiful day to be out on the lake. Boys are doing some fishing. And then from the trees, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Boom. Right there. What in the world are we looking at? Unfortunately, the video is a little choppy, but that's crazy to me. That is crazy. And they come in for a closer look, but whatever had been there, I don't think it appears again. Let's let this play out in its entirety, because I think I was so astounded by that clip that I didn't stop. That I stopped it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't see it again. Yeah, they just play it again right from where it's walking across. Now, it's unfortunate that the frame rate on this video is pretty slow. Okay, now we got a zoomed in shot there. That's fantastic. What in the world? What in the world? I mean, this looks pretty good to me. The way the light is hitting that figure. And the way it kind of disappears into the shadow. Now, I can't tell if it's casting a shadow itself because the sun appears to be behind us. But man, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. If it's a fake, I'm not saying that it's not a fake, right? But if that is a fake, wow. That is a pretty darn good fake if that is a fake. I'll tell you though, well, that was another video that I saw that kind of made my hair stand up on end a little bit. And again, the woods are a magical place. I love the woods. You never know what you're going to come across. So was that Bigfoot? Did this person capture a video of Bigfoot in the woods of Ontario? What do you think? Okay, the next one comes from Reddit as well. Okay, so this is from the subreddit Ghosts. The title is "My friend and I went to Jerome, Arizona, and I captured this photo while on a ghost tour in an abandoned high school. I have no experience with ghosts, but this photo freaks me out. And let's take a closer look here. So I think the poster is referring to this shadow right here. They were not very clear as far as what they were referring to. Now, when we zoom in a little bit, it's hard to say. It could be someone walking into frame, and with the low lighting, it's creating this ghosting effect. But it could very well be that they captured an apparition. I would certainly think, as someone that's not familiar with or even into the paranormal, and they capture something like this on their camera, it's going to be a little startling. Now, in terms of it being a shadow, looks like the light is coming in this way. So it's not a shadow that's being casted from backlighting, right? So the only other alternative is that it's someone that walked into the frame of the picture. But pretty cool, though. It's a pretty cool photo. I think if I were to capture this same photo and was aware that no one was crossing in front of the camera, I might be pretty excited too. At the very least, a little bit spooked. Okay. Next up from Reddit, and I'm going to pull this over. We can read along together. This is titled Strange Nighttime Experience. This is from Big Jellyfish 6125. I love some of these Reddit handles. All right, this is categorized as unexplained. Let's take a sip of water so we can get through this. This happened in the early 1970s. I lived in a small development on the west coast of Florida, north of Tampa. Sometime back then, being a young and restless teenager, I would sneak out of my house late at night and go for walks. There was a section there where roads but no houses were built yet. Behind that was a cow pasture. Behind that, swamp spaced with very old sinkholes. In one of the pastures was an Indian mound. The developer later tore it down. That's bad juju. Right there, off the back. Why would you tear it down? But again, this is the 70s. Things were a little bit different back then, but still, terrible idea and heartbreaking and disrespectful on every possible level. It was rumored to be thousands of years old. Anyway, one night I was out walking, and this was a night the frogs back in the marsh were really going at it. I stood there on one of the dark roads and just stood and listened. Then I started to hear something very disturbing. Mixed in with the frogs with the sound of what I can only describe as a woman or women weeping, like a very sad wailing. I stood there straining to listen in disbelief, but it was clearly the sound of scores of women weeping. The sound was coming from the direction of the marsh. It was like the frog sounds had suddenly changed into the sounds of women. I wasn't really scared. I was more perplexed. I walked home and went on night walks, but it never happened again. I've never heard of animal noises transforming into such human-sounding sounds, but there was something very unearthly and sad about it. I do think it was some kind of apparition. Anyway, thought I would share the story. And Big Jellyfish, very glad that you shared the story. Yeah, so that's interesting. The whole concept of sounds of nature transforming into something more ghostly, I think speaks to the power of nature. I think the energy of nature is a very raw, very primal thing. And so that's personally why I think there is this remarkable intersection of the paranormal when it comes to nature energy, nature spirits using the natural sounds for a voice. There is a recording I captured back when T and I, T from Old Spirits Investigations, were investigating the TWA crash site. And there were several times, and I was more aware of this when we were out there, but there are a couple times on the recording where the sounds of the insects almost sound like they're becoming voices. And so I do wonder if it could have been a similar phenomena where if there are spirits there that were human or spirits that are nature spirits or something more elemental that are using that life force and the very sounds of the insects to make their voices heard. And that's instantly what I thought of when I read this Reddit post, and which is really why I wanted to share it because it reminded me of that experience. But it's just a really, I think, a neat story. And again, speaks to the magic of nature. And so I thought it was worth, I thought it was worth sharing. So we spend a lot of time in nature here, but why don't we shift settings and head to more of a civilization, and that civilization being New York City and LaGuardia Airport. So this next clip is a possible UFO reported over LaGuardia Airport. This happened, I think it was last year. Yeah, this was about a year ago, and I was not even aware. I missed this in the news altogether, but I did pick this up off of News Nation. No judgment, no judgment. And this was a wow video for me. And so I'm just going to let the video play. It's about 5 minutes long, so I'm probably not going to play the whole thing. We will pause it for some commentary. Okay, let's go ahead and see if this will switch back. Okay, cool. That's not the layout that I had before, but it works. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play. We'll sit back. Check it out. Check it out. This is slowed down now, I believe. There we go. There we go. Whoa. Yeah, that's no bug. Mm. Ben Hansen. Ben Hansen. Love Ben Hansen. I'm not going to play this whole video. I will share the link in the show notes. I've had a bit of issue doing the links, but let's go ahead and let's watch that. Let's watch that again. Let's just watch that again because this is pretty wild. I have yet to see anything like this out of an airplane window, but it's fairly common that people do see strange things in the sky. Oh, we're not getting sound from the video. That's okay. Sound doesn't matter. So there we go. Check it out. Look at that thing. And so the newscaster is saying, was it a bug? But on the inside of the plane, that's what the photographer initially thought. But there were no bugs in there on the plane, which is good. You don't want bugs on the plane. And so for the people that are listening to this, it's just like a black tic tac or cylinder that whizzes by. And that is just absolutely bonkers. I don't know why we're not getting sound from the video. You have to let me know if we were missing sound earlier. So they don't say approximately how big it is from what I saw from the video. I mean, and it's hard to say. I mean, judging from the distance, you could say that it's fairly big. But let's see if we have the image where I can capture it coming by. We're going to go back really fast, slowly here. And we'll try to pause. We're going to try to pause right on it. Let's see. Okay. Can we? Oh, it's so fast. So fast. Yeah. It's really hard to get a sense of the proportions of this thing. There we go. There we go. And I don't see any shadows cast from it, but we don't see any shadows cast from the plane either. I mean, if I had to guess, this is a total guess, maybe about airplane size. That's a total guess, by the way. Take that with the biggest grain of salt. But I thought that was pretty cool, and I like that Ben Hansen is in the video as well. So again, like I said, I'm gonna have to share this because I think Ben Hansen is very cool. And I'm drawing a blank on the show that he appears on. I think on Discovery, but it's absolutely worth checking out if you have a chance to check that out. I'll drop the name of that in the show notes as well when I post this up as a podcast episode. So once again, if you're just joining in, welcome to It Came From the Web. I'm Phil Rossi, host of the podcast Don't Turn Around. It Came From the Web is my new series where I explore spooky happenings that are found on the internet. It's a closely related show to Don't Turn Around in the sense that strange things are happening around us all the time. Strange things are happening to the everyday person, the person that you are standing behind in the line in the supermarket, your coworker, your neighbor. And there is a plethora of content that is pushed out to the internet. Some of it is very clearly faked, which actually this next video I'm going to share is clearly faked. And I'm going to try to reshare so we can get some sound maybe and see if we can't get that going on here. So let's go ahead and do this. And then we're going to stop. And then we're going to share. We're going to share screen. Yeah, it should be sharing audio. I heard from Resident Moon in the chat that it's not sharing audio. I had the audio down very low in that particular clip, so that could be why. So let's go ahead and we will start that sharing up again. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this next one is now. Maybe it's not faked because I have it labeled in my notes as fake. But but I will say this. Okay, it is faked. I mean, I'm convinced, but it's pretty cool though. It's a pretty cool use of technology there. Let's see if I could start that over. And honestly, the reactions of the people, if this was genuinely something that they were seeing, I think there'd be a lot more screaming. Maybe I would probably be dead silent if I saw something like that. I have been on many investigations. I have never encountered anything quite like that, but it's pretty cool as far as a bit of uh, video editing. But this is the issue too that you encounter when you're looking at things like this on the internet. And for those that are viewing or listening to the podcast, is sort of this black spectral flowing thing floating in front of this white house. There's a ton of fakes out there, and you can make a fake paranormal video on your phone. It's that simple. There's a ton of software that lets you do it, and it makes it hard to believe what we're seeing out there, right? It makes it hard to believe that a clip that we're watching is genuine. And I think that's where this sort of I want to believe the Fox Mulder mantra comes into play. And it's okay. It is okay to want to believe. And I would never discourage anyone not to believe, but I would encourage everyone to be skeptical. To be skeptical is to be wise, but to believe or to want to believe is to be free in a way. And it's okay to hope for and to believe that there is still a little magic left in this world, a little magic out there on the internet. And at the end of the day, hey, it can make for a great distraction. So we're going to shift gears a little bit here. And I was messing around on eBay. People love to sell haunted objects. And I came across a few that I found maybe not haunted, but that were quite interesting. So here we go. This is, oh, let's close that. This is a haunted paper mache. You remember doing paper mache in elementary school? I remember trying to make a dinosaur out of paper mache. It was an absolute disaster. I did not get very far at all. Paper mache is not easy. So hats off to whoever made this paper mache clown. But so haunted object, paper mache, hobo clown, many shadows seen, positive and happy vibes. That's a little bit of a contradiction. Let's take some looks at the different angles. Okay, so kind of cute, kind of creepy. Let's see if there's anything more in the description. Oh, there's a nice long description. So let's give this a read. Hi, my fellow paranormal family. Allow me to introduce you to whom I refer to as Mr. Hobo Clown for obvious reasons. I purchased him at an antique shop in St. Louis years ago, and I have loved having him around. The first day I brought him home, I decided to get out my cat balls and trigger objects and EMF. And I've also used the Estes method. I've come to understand that this spirit does manifest itself in the form of a shadow person. I saw many shadows bouncing from room to room in my home after bringing him in. Now, do not be alarmed when you read shadow people. He just likes to playfully bounce around and show you quick glimpses of him. Upon my investigations over the past 2 years, I've come to the conclusion that he is never going to tell me his real name, so that is why I've given him his, this is hilarious, his stage name, Mr. Hobo Clown. I have learned that his entire goal is to make people happy, and I'm not sure if he ever was a human being or if he is something that has been here a long time and attached itself to this beautiful, subjective piece of art. Perhaps the latter. I cannot keep him, sadly, because I have a humidifier in order to breathe. I have him wrapped up now so that he does not ruin because he is paper mache. I get lots of yes and no answers while recording EVP. I've heard him say smile loudly and joyfully over the speaker. He is ready to go to any home, children and animal friendly. My grandkids also love his spirit. If you feel a slight tug at your heart, then Mr. Hobo Clown could be the one for you. If you would like to add some light and joy and energy to fill in the blank, we'll say to your home, Mr. Hobo Clown. And for the listeners, he's got some nice yarn hair and he's wearing a fancy little yellow patchwork jacket, a nice pink little vest, and of course a big hobo red nose and a fuzzy beard. I don't know. I mean, it's fun to think that he could be haunted. Again, as with the internet on eBay, there are scores and scores of haunted objects for sale. Now, if any of you have some cash to burn and you want to pick up Hobo, Mr. Hobo Clown, or Mr. Hobo the Clown, let me know if you do, and let me know if you experience activity. I would purchase him if, one, I had some spare cash laying around, and if, two, if my wife wouldn't murder me for purchasing a potentially haunted object and bringing it into the house. Or maybe I could purchase him and send him to T as a early birthday present, and T would murder me too. He is not a big fan of clowns. Okay. Next haunted object is something a little bit different. So you tend to see lots of dolls, lots of clowns, boxes that people say are Dybbuk boxes. But I found this to be interesting. So this is haunted object, the Lady in White supernatural haunted cursed bridge wood. Now, when I saw this picture, it reminded me of the Eisenhower Bridge, which is in Gettysburg and is one of my favorite haunted locations, which is why I kind of initially gravitated toward this. And they do share some cool photographs of this haunted bridge. Oh, and look, there's the EMF reader going all the way to the red. So that's kind of fun. Oh, they do have quite a few. Okay, so there's the bridge piece. Now, did they tear this piece off the bridge or did it just fall off? I like, though, notice he's wearing rubber gloves. I don't know if that's for the show, for those of you listening. So there's a fairly good size hunk of wood that this 6 inches long that this poster is sharing, selling this haunted piece of bridge for $325. That's pretty steep. But let's see. Let's take a look at the description. So, authentic, haunted, the Lady in White haunted bridge piece. Personally obtained item from the haunted bridge the lady on white hanged herself from. Very vague, very vague. I would like some documentation on that. The EMF reader was super active while obtaining the item and remains active because I imagine the bridge was like, hey, stop ripping pieces of wood off me. The local lore and legends say that when you park at the bridge at night, you can see the dead woman's shadow appear on the bridge. The bridge is constructed of iron and wood. The piece offered here is wooden, which is in quotes. I'm not sure why they're using quotes. Authentic original building material of the bridge. Disclaimer: we do not take responsibility for any activity or lack of activity surrounding this object. So I am not going to recommend that anyone spend $325 on this piece of bridge wood. Again, the post was a little vague, and for a hunk of wood that could have come from just about anywhere, don't think you're going to be really getting a good deal. All right, one more haunted object because I found this doll very creepy. So let's go right on the face of the doll. Let's all take a moment just to absorb this doll. Maybe porcelain, blonde hair that's a little messy, the face is scuffed up, cherry red lips, and these enormous dark eyes that as I'm looking at this right now, I feel like this doll is positively staring into my soul, and I'm getting kind of an ick vibe. I'm getting an ick vibe just from looking at this. I didn't spend a ton of time looking at this when I initially found it. It just grabbed my attention and I said bookmark. But now as I'm looking at it, I mean, sight unseen, if someone told me, yeah, that this doll is haunted, I would likely believe them, just again from what I'm feeling just by looking at it. So this is a haunted vintage vessel, intense energy, highly active Angelina, age 33. So let's see what kind of description we have here for Angelina. Oh, okay. So they're advertising other. Oh no, maybe not. Okay, I think we got to take some water in for this one. Okay. Haunted spirit vessel Angelina, intense energy, deep mystery, and alluring spiritual power. Investigation findings and paranormal experience. Angelina's energy is intense, hypnotic, and charged with magnetism. From the moment her vessel entered my space, she made herself known with waves of heat, heavy air, and a strange static that seems to linger in the space. She's not frightening, but she is commanding. She's the kind of spirit that draws attention without effort. And even those unfamiliar with the paranormal have commented on feeling watched, pulled, or entranced near her vessel. Now that's interesting because in looking at that picture for a minute there, I did get that sense of almost being entranced. I'm not sure that if you out there watching this right now had that same sensation, but please leave a comment. I would love to know what you felt looking at Angelina. She's drawn to spiritual seekers, those exploring the hidden, the esoteric, the emotionally intense. She will challenge you, but in doing so, she awakens parts of you that may have long been dormant. Now, this is how you write a description. This is pretty compelling. Now, the poster goes on to list a long list of findings, from pendulum to dowsing rod, spirit box, and EVP, candle and smoke reading. The activity they've witnessed, excuse me, sudden changes in temperature, most often heat, followed by chills, feelings of being intensely observed during meditation, bathing, okay, that's not cool, or dressing, the scent of rose, sandalwood, or aged wine lingering briefly in the air, candles flickering wildly or going out altogether during emotionally intense conversations, feeling of presence beside or behind you, especially when you're deep in thought or emotionally vulnerable. Wow. So let's go take another look at Angelina. Oh, someone has Angelina in their cart. So again, like I mentioned with the other, with the hobo clown, if you are so inclined and want to do an experiment for me and want to pick up Angelina, I would love to hear about your experiences with Angelina. Wow. She is something. Let's just take another moment just to gaze into Angelina's dark eyes. That's not something I'd want in my house. So if you want to pick up Angelina for me and experiment and see if you have similar paranormal experiences to what the seller has listed in the description, please do. Please do, because again, I'm extremely curious. And if I even had a shed on my property where I could pick some of this up, I might strongly consider it. Okay. Wow. We have been going pretty much the distance here, and we're getting kind of toward the end of things. So we're going to finish up here tonight with one final UFO video. So this is a UFO over UK airport. This was the Manchester airport, and you can see it right here in the picture is this silver sphere, which is a fairly common sighting for UFOs around the world. And in fact, I've been getting a lot of news hits on a lot of different things happening with spherical objects, some of which I'll share in future episodes. This is UFO again over a UK airport, the Manchester airport. The time it was captured on video by local resident Jordan Evans. The recording shows a metal ball the size of a car. Now, granted, you're not going to get that perspective from the video, which smoothly floated in the air. Curiously, in March last year, the co-pilot of an airplane already recorded something similar. Then the object hovered right above the runway. I noticed it out of the corner of my eye when I was passing by the airport. It was spherical and moving in a straight line at a constant speed. It was definitely not a balloon. There was a strong wind blowing that day, and the object remained stable. So here we go. Let's go ahead and make this full screen, and let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this object. There it is. Again, any sense of size? So they're saying it was windy, and you can hear the wind on the camera. And so if it was that windy, I don't know if you would just see a balloon flowing straight across that way. But again, don't know what direction the wind is blowing in. So it is really, really hard to say if that is a balloon or not. But again, we'll watch this again. According to the pilot's account that had seen a similar object previously, it does make it a little bit more compelling. And like I said, there have been a lot of accounts of these spherical objects, not just around airports, but pretty much all over, that we'll be sharing in future episodes. And that's our last clip, folks. That is our last clip. I have had such a good time sharing this with all of you. It was a great experience from beginning to end for me. I hope you enjoyed what I shared here tonight. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining me in this new series. Like I said, this is a whole new experience for me. I have not ever live streamed content like this before. So this is exciting and maybe just a little bit terrifying as well. So thank you for being there to support the channel, to support Don't Turn Around. Without all of you out there, none of this would be possible. But here I am getting to do something that I really love. So from the bottom of my heart, again, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for joining for episode 2 of It Came From the Web. We're going to keep going and going. I'm going to keep digging and finding more stories on the internet, more things to share, along with some of my own personal accounts of the paranormal as well. So with all that being said, we'll catch you next time.